that I've heard of the most is fentanyl. And fentanyl being added to like weed and being added to different substances like ecstasy and so on. And
Mhm.
it's causing a lot of people to overdose and
What's
die.
good, y'all? Ayezo back with another video. Hope y'all doing well out there. So today I'm coming at y'all with something different. I got a special guest. I got Diana coming through today. She gonna give us some professional advice. She is actually a substance abuse therapist, correct?
Yes.
Cool, cool. Thank you for joining. And I do quit and weed videos on my channel, as you know.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people struggling with things besides weed. But we're going to just talk about them all today and hopefully help out the people that we can help out.
Sure.
All right, cool. So let's get some backstory on you first. So, how long you been doing this?
So I've been working in the field for 10 plus years now. I think about good 12 years. I've been working in the mental health field. I've worked with substance abuse specifically for about, I could say about a year now. But I've been counseling for far longer than that. So,
Okay. What made
mhm.
you get into this field of work?
Actually, it was more like it was, I guess I could just describe it as a calling. It was something that I just gravitated to and really enjoyed and loved. Like I've wanted to do this since before I even went to college for it. Like I went into college knowing exactly what I wanted to do and
Hmm.
came out doing it, and I've been in it ever since.
That's what's up. I'm pretty sure you helped out a lot of people so far. That's what's up,
Mhm.
man. Keep following your calling. I'm doing the same thing over here on my channel and what I do. So keep it up.
Sure.
So, first question I got for you: what's some things you do or advice you give to your clients when they first come in? You first start interacting with them, get their backstory, and what I'm saying, hear what they're going through and stuff like that. What's some things you do or advice you give them?
So we don't normally give advice. What I do when I first meet a client is I get their backstory. I find out, okay, what is the main reason why you're using? What is the purpose behind it? What are you trying to do? So I get them to really go back and think back to the first time they ever started using, and
Mm-hmm.
then asking them, okay, what was the reason here? Why did you start? Why did you engage in it? For a lot of people, they'll say, oh, it was just to fit in. It was just, to interact with other people. That's what everybody else was doing. But then over time, you find that it graduates from just trying to fit in to now something else, to where they're using the substance in order to deal with emotions that they don't want to feel at that moment. So it's their way of coping with negative emotions.
Okay.
Or for some people, it's trauma, they're using in order to deal with the memories and the emotions that come with like some past trauma.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that a lot on my channel. Actually, my personal experience, I started because I was just trying to fit in with my family members and people around me was doing it. So I just naturally started getting curious and getting like, there must be something good about this. So I decided to try it. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to fit in. And that ended up leading to a dependency. And, you know what I'm saying? The rest is history. It's all on my channel. But yeah, I get what you're saying too about people just trying to suppress their past traumas and emotions and stuff like that. I get that a lot on my channel too. And that's definitely a slippery slope because you can form a dependency and never actually figure out how to handle stress and traumas in a healthy way. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So by helping the person identify their reason, I can start the process of helping them to figure out, okay, if you're trying to hide from emotions, okay, now I'm going to teach you, strategies on how to manage your emotions, and I'll teach them, I'll educate them on their emotions, on why they're experiencing emotions, what your emotions are actually doing, and how you should really be thinking about it, that you should not really actually, avoid your feelings. You should allow yourself to experience it because they're telling you something.
right, right.
Yeah. So if you could call that advice, I mean, educating the person about what they're going through and teaching them skills on how to better manage their emotions so that they're not dependent on the substance anymore.
Right, right. You got any quick tips for anybody looking for ways to manage their emotions in a healthier way? Like off the top of your head, you got anything?
One the first tip is to consider why you're hiding from your feelings. Consider what how you define your own emotions. So some people avoid their emotions because they learn that okay, emotions, feeling anything is a sign of weakness, right? So if
Especially as
you
a man,
think
right?
exactly. And, with men in particular, there are a lot of men in substance abuse therapy right now because a lot of men are, as a man, you're forbidden to even, express your emotions or even to feel things like sadness. If you're sad, it's more socially appropriate to express it through anger, or frustration. So you never really get to the core of what you're really feeling.
Yeah.
And in that situation, we try to help men in particular, but everyone really, to think differently about what their emotions are. And that's one of the things is breaking that stigma of what your emotions really mean for you.
Okay.
The second thing that I normally do is then once I educate them on their emotions and whatever they're going through, I help them to talk about it, to communicate and talk about, okay, what is it that this emotion is telling me? And if it's trauma, to help them to like talk about what it is, their response to it, get them to process their emotions and process what happened, to actually give a voice to what they're hiding from, because the substance use is really to just hide from the experience of that thing that happened or
Mm-hmm.
that emotion. You're trying to avoid it, so we prompt you to basically no, confront it, let's talk about it, give a voice to it. And over time what happens is the more they talk about it, the easier it becomes to manage. And they find that, oh, by talking about it to someone, I can actually like understand this and work through it on my own,
Yeah, I
without
ain't
the
gonna lie. I
substance.
can I can relate to that a lot. There's a lot of things I've had bottled up within me while smoking,
Mm-hmm.
and once I quit smoking weed, I had to feel all those emotions, all those memories, whether it's like breakups or family members passing away. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times I just had to let it all out. I found myself crying or in deep thought, sadness and stuff like that. Now I did feel it, but honestly I didn't communicate it with people. So like I think I let some of it out, but it's still some stuff like I haven't communicated with people. And from time to time, like I talk to people
Mm-hmm.
about, what I'm saying, people passing away in my life, and I do feel better afterwards. Honestly, I do feel better about it, and I get to hear their perspective on the situation. And it just makes me feel a little bit more relieved than I did when I just had it all bottled up. So I definitely understand what you mean about suppressing your emotions and the power of just communicating. I'm not great at that, but that's why I'm here talking to you. Maybe I could learn something too.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not easy for a lot of people to communicate what they really feel, because you have to trust a person that you're divulging all of this to. You have to make sure that nobody's going to make fun of you for like admitting that, yeah, I felt a way about this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times that's what people are struggling with. It's like they don't have anybody that they can really talk to about those issues that they're dealing with internally. And the lack of that can lead them to using substances as a way to just deal with it and cope, because they have no other way. But another tip though that I do is helping the person to feel comfortable being sober. One thing that we don't always talk about is that some people get so comfortable with being high or being intoxicated that they can't really feel good sober. Like they've spent so much time using that,
That's their natural
feel
state.
it being sober feels weird.
That becomes their natural state, just being high or intoxicated.
Right, right. And plus just to be involved in some activity, without being high, it's like different. And so they have to just learn to experience different activities and different fun things without the substance and, get accustomed to that,
Yeah.
and get acclimated to it to where they are like, you know what, this isn't so bad. They have to change how they've changed their minds about the significance of the substance, to kind of devalue it
Yeah.
and realize that yes, the raw experience, the pure experience of life is good too.
Yeah, I get
Like,
that a lot.
don't keep
I
it.
get that a lot on my channel, and I experience it myself as well. I consider it like limiting beliefs. When people say, "I need weed to be creative. I need weed to sleep. I need weed to go watch this movie. I need weed. I need it to do this. I need it to do that." I consider that a limiting belief. I used to think that way as well, but over time, like after I quit smoking weed, I started living more in the present moment. I figured out I can just enjoy this without weed. It wasn't an overnight thing, but I
Yeah,
did go through those uncomfortable weeks in the beginning when I first quit, where I was like very uncomfortable watching movies. I felt like this is boring. Listening to music, I'm like, this is boring. It's not as fun as it used to be. But
yeah,
once I got through the initial 3 weeks, everything started getting back to normal. I started just enjoying things as they are: food,
yeah,
sleeping, movies, music, everything just got back to normal. But it wasn't overnight for sure.
yeah, because when you think about it, you're retraining your brain. Your brain has already changed by using the substance, so now when you stop, it has to change back, and that's going to take the time. That's what that period is. It's your brain now adapting to this new feeling, these new sensations, and developing a tolerance for just the pure lived experience.
Okay, okay. Thanks for
Mm-hmm.
sharing that for sure. So, it's the next question I got for you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
What are some tips you have for boredom, which is one thing that often leads to addiction? Many people don't have hobbies or a purpose in life or even a relationship at that. And they just
Mm-hmm.
find themselves leaning on weed. That's their relationship partner. That's what they look forward to every night after work. They start leading on addictions and other substances, you know what I'm saying, to fill that void. So, what do you have to say for people who are suffering with boredom and fall into addiction, or are just into their addiction because they have nothing else going on in their life?
Well, boredom is basically the lack of options. I feel I do find that people who are normally bored, like, are not exposed to enough activities. um my advice would be to get out there and explore different things, like get into things that your peer group are not even into. Like, you'll be surprised, like, at just being exposed to different activities, how people can gravitate to something so easily and figure out ways to take up their time.
Facts.
But boredom really is just you settling for just what you already have around you. So if all you have is just the TV to watch or the computer to go on, then yeah, boredom is going to settle in, because
Mm-hmm.
that's just two activities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have like art, you don't have like painting, piano, music, getting involved in the community, working with children. You haven't broadened your horizon, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Basically, what you're saying is step out your comfort zone. Do
exactly.
things you never did before. Try new things. Go new places. Talk to new people. You never know what that can spark within you. Spark some interest within you.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like we just settle into like just what's in front of us, and then that's it. And so we end up bored when life is a lot more than that.
Yeah, for sure.
You just have to be willing to go out there and just find it. So you don't necessarily have to grab the substance, although the substance, if it's there in your home, you're basically curing your boredom because it's convenient. Like, the substance is there and it's convenient to just grab it, take a puff or take a drink or whatever, and okay, now we're high, we're not bored. You know what I mean?
And we're
So
not going nowhere either. We're gonna sit on this couch.
yeah, we're gonna sit on this couch and we're just gonna be high, we're just gonna be drunk, and that's it. And then once it comes down, you're still bored. So
Reality's still the same for you.
exactly. And nothing has changed, and life has not gotten any more exciting. It's still the same thing because you haven't gone out there and gotten that new experience. You're not finding anything new to do.
Yeah, I find that a very important thing to do in life if you want to enjoy your life. Constantly be trying new things, like trying
Hmm.
foods, going to new places, listening to new music, talking to new people instead of getting inside this routine of doing the same thing, watching the same stuff over and over again, talking to the same people, the same conversations, going the same way home. Like go a different way
Yeah,
home this day. Like go to a different city this weekend. Like do something different. You know what I'm saying? Like that helps
exactly.
me stay creative and just helps me just like look forward to life. Just knowing there's other things out here that can bring me joy and I can experience. Whether I like it
Hmm.
or don't like it, that's up in the air. But at least I experienced it and tried it out.
Yeah, exactly. And you see, you kind of fall into a cycle when weed or any drug or substance is your cure for boredom, so to speak. You kind of fall into that cycle where that's all you do, and
Mm-hmm.
you're still bored. You haven't really solved the problem. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Last question I got for you.
Hmm.
So you've been doing this substance abuse for about a year now, right?
Hmm.
By the way, what's some substances that you hear very common that people come in they're struggling with?
Um, cocaine, crack, Adderall, there are opiate addiction, there's weed, there's alcohol. Alcohol is a big one that
Yeah.
I see a lot. Marijuana is second up there. Fentanyl addiction, meth. There's a lot of people that come in with abusing meth and opiates, like I said before. But one thing I could say is that I've heard of the most is fentanyl, and fentanyl being added to like weed and being added to different substances like ecstasy and so on. And
Mm-hmm.
it's causing a lot of people to overdose and die. And so there is a crisis going on with fentanyl, particularly being added to marijuana and causing the deaths of a lot of young people.
And a lot of them probably don't even know it.
They don't know it.
But some of them don't know too.
Yeah, and it's very dangerous. So it's gotten a lot of people just hooked on marijuana. It's gotten a lot of people in the hospital, and
Mm-hmm.
we hear that a lot. And it's like an advisory for us therapists now. It's like, look out for this because it's really killing people.
Yeah, me. All right, so last question. From like I said, you've been doing it about a year now. You probably done had some success stories, people you done helped out and stuff like that, helped them recover. From the success stories that you've heard, what's some common things you hear from people who successfully recovered? Like whether it's things that helped them or how their life is now. What's some common things you hear in success stories from people who successfully recovered, whether it's weed, opioids, alcohol, whatever.
They are happy. They say they are happy. They express to me that they feel more in control of their lives. They feel more in control of themselves. They're able to live a more fuller, more enjoyable life. They get engaged in different activities, and if they're in AA, for example, they will they have a new peer group, nor a new sober support network that they can now go to. And if they have a sponsor, they have someone that they can call for emotional support, even for support to help them stay sober. Their lives are overall, for many who have successfully recovered, life is good.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's not perfect, but life is better than where they were.
Right, right. I think
And they're
one thing.
more willing to share with others, their experiences while, they were in the midst of addiction, and they've been able to change lives.
Right. And I think one thing that makes them happier is that feeling of being proud of yourself. Just
Hmm.
remembering how low you were. Maybe you was crying, maybe you was broke, maybe you was begging people to give you a hit or whatever the case. People got all type of like stories where they was desperate, you know what I'm saying? So looking back at your past and realizing where you were to where you are now can just give you a feeling of just being proud of yourself, and that automatically just makes you happy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? 'Cause nobody really knows what you was going through for real, but you. You know
Yeah.
how it felt personally. You know how it felt. That's how I feel for myself. I know how it felt when I was struggling
Hmm.
to quit for so long. That's why me, good now, mentally clear of that phase of my life, onto a whole new chapter of my life. I just feel proud. Like if I could overcome that, and I was
Yep.
struggling with that, I know I can overcome whatever is to come next.
Yeah, it's that self-esteem boost.
Right. Right.
It's that boost. It's because once you've tackled like the hard part of getting your addiction under control, I mean, it's the sky's the limit from there.
Mm-hmm.
The only struggle that a recovering addict has is just staying sober, because your mind is going to want to go back to what it's familiar, to what it's used to. So relapses occur, but it's kind of common, you know
Mm-hmm.
so we don't really, to me, it's typical. It's a normal process of recovery. So as heartbreaking as some people find their relapse, it's typical for us.
It's a learning experience. It's a learning
Yeah.
experience. And you just relapsing and for whatever reason, take
Hmm.
wisdom from it, because you never know who you might come in contact in the future. It might be your kids or a family member or a complete stranger who is in that
Exactly. And
same position, and you might
sometimes
be
the
able to help them out.
relapse, I'm sorry. Sometimes the relapse, lets you know that there's probably more work that you need to do. You know,
Yeah, yeah. And
sometimes
also
that's it.
relapses sometimes give you clarity. Okay, this is really not for me. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? You might have been thinking like, okay, it's been 6 months. Let me go ahead and smoke weed again. But then you do it and you have a bad trip or whatever the case. You
Hmm.
stuff up a lot. You get that clarity like, okay, this is really not for me. I was kind of convincing myself that it might be for me again, but it's really not for me. And they give you that clarity to just completely move on with some people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And also, you just sharing your experience with other people, like I do on my channel, that'll give you some motivation to keep going too. Once you see how much you can impact other people and help them out, that makes you feel like you're living a more purposeful, meaningful life. Because I got people, I won't say depending on me, but they look forward to hearing my story and helping them out.
Hmm.
All right, so that's a common thing you hear from success stories. They just happy. They live in a more fulfilled life. They probably got
Yep.
new hobbies, new social group, new peers. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Happy. So that's if that's not good enough for you, I don't know what you're doing. Like being happy, that's the whole key of life. You want to enjoy the journey, man. Check out my merch. But yeah, I appreciate you coming through, Diana.
Hmm. No problem.
I would say check out her socials, but she's kind of private, and I don't know what she got
Thank
going on
you.
behind the scenes. So yeah, man, I appreciate you coming through, Diana. Make sure y'all like this video. And yeah,
Hmm.
Diana, enjoy your evening. All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right.